Good evening, everyone. My name's Alison Holland. I'm the chair of the Northants Social Enterprise Network. And tonight I'm with Sarah, who will introduce herself in a moment. And we are talking about thinking like a business. So we are really focusing on the entrepreneurial side of not-for-profits and boosting that. I also run a social enterprise myself, which I have done for over 20 years, called Brightways. And so I have a lot of practical experience. And Sarah will also fill you in on what she's about.
Thank you, Alison. Yes, so I'm Sarah Damani and I run a virtual assistant business supporting organisations across Northamptonshire and across the UK. And we have been really privileged to be working alongside Alison and her social enterprise Brightways for the last year. And Northants Social Enterprise Network as well. So it's a real pleasure to be here. My background is as a business advisor for the university, and I very much specialise within sort of grant funding and funding opportunities, helping businesses to overcome challenges and obstacles. So I will just share the slides with you. Is that displaying okay for you, Alison?
Yes, I can see that.
Yep.
Lovely.
Wonderful. So yes, this is our workshop within the series of, as Alison said, thinking like a business. Now, what I want you to do is think about the following questions as we're going through this workshop. Now, if we were in person, we would be giving you time to sit down and write your answers out for this, but that's why I want you to take a photo of these questions and think through these questions. Who are you and what does your organisation do? Who do you serve? Who are your beneficiaries and customers? They might be different groups. How are you currently funded? Is it grants? Is it trading? Is it donations? Is it memberships? And what is your biggest challenge in generating income? Because hopefully through this workshop, those are the questions that we're going to help you with. We're going to do an exercise shortly that will help you with brainstorming those very questions and hopefully give you some ideas that can help you to become more financially resilient and more self-sustainable. So the workshop objective. What is the workshop objective? Why is everyone here? What is it about this workshop that you're interested in learning a bit more about? So this is very much about how VCSE organisations can become more entrepreneurial and financially resilient. Do you want to reduce your dependency on grant funding, that endless cycle of having to keep your eye on grants that are available and all of the work that goes into the applications behind that? Have you got some ideas for earning income whilst creating good social or environmental impacts? Perhaps you don't actually know, you've got an idea for creating an income, but you don't exactly know the cogs that need to be put in place, the wheels that need to be turned, or how exactly to implement that idea. So hopefully that's what we're going to do with this first part of the workshop, which is the business model canvas. This is a tool that I have used throughout a lot of my business working life. When I was meeting with organisations as a business advisor at the university, this was a tool that I often referred to because it's a really good tool for testing different ideas, exploring different avenues, visualizing different aspects of your business. And you can use this tool a bit like a business plan, except without the 30 pages that you need to do to really test a business idea or theory or principle. It's a strategic management tool that will help you visualize and assess a business idea by outlining the key elements in your business, like your customer segments, the value proposition, the channels, and the revenue streams. And this is what it looks like. So this is a business model canvas. You will find this template anywhere online. You'll also find lots of blogs about the theory and the principles behind it. And if you're anything like me, you're going to use ChatGPT or other AI to help you to answer these sections and to brainstorm ideas, because why wouldn't we use AI? It's so readily available. And if you are scared about AI, don't be. Just get used to it, get comfortable with it, and start using it, because it's really brilliant. So I'm going to talk you through the template. It's a one pager. You can do it on A4 or A3, whatever you prefer, but print it out and start writing some ideas. And if, as I go through this in the order that the business model canvas is supposed to be completed, if any ideas are popping into your head, then please, by all means, write them down as bullet points. We want this to be a real usable workshop, working environment. So first of all, we go into value proposition. So what value do you offer? What social, environmental, or community problems do you solve? What do you offer that people are willing to pay for? And could your expertise, your services, or your resources be commercialized? So that's the first section, your value proposition. Then we go into customer segments. So who benefits and who pays? They might be different groups. Your primary beneficiaries are who benefits most from your work, and potential customers are who could pay for your service. Could you target businesses? Could you explore working with local authorities? What about schools? Is there something you could offer that could work with schools or the general public? Then we go into channels. How do you promote your services? What new channels could reach your new target audiences? Because they might be different to the current marketing channels that you currently use within your business. A new partnership, a new audience might have different ways, different better ways to get in touch with them. Revenue streams. How can you generate income? What new revenue streams could you explore? When is a grant not a grant? And Alison will go into that in a little bit more detail shortly. And is there any way, could you explore building a recurring revenue stream? Maybe developing digital assets or an online course or workshop that you could monetize and sell time and time again? What key activities that you perform every day to deliver your value proposition, could they be monetized at all? What else in the business could be automated or scaled? And again, you might not know the answer to those questions, but if you think, oh, I wonder if that could be automated, or I wonder if I could scale that within my business, ask ChatGPT. Really brainstorm the ideas with that tool, because it's fantastic. What do you currently do for free? What time and time again, I see social enterprises giving away so much for free. And we need to stop that, because we need to protect our time. Time is money, and we need to make sure that we're monetizing things as much as possible. Yes, you might give away something for free once. You might give away a workshop with a school or a community group, but then how can you extend that and create that into a membership or a 12-month contract? Stop giving away so much for free. Then we go into key resources. So this section is about what are the resources in your business that you need to use to deliver your proposition, your value proposition. So what assets could you leverage? What knowledge and expertise could be turned into paid services? Then key partners. Who else could help you to monetize? Are there any corporate partnerships that you could explore? Could you collaborate with other VCSEs in your network nationwide? Are there any other VCSEs that have a similar audience, or perhaps they have complementary products that could work alongside yours? Are there local businesses or councils or universities that would pay for impact-driven work? And again, that might sound like a grant opportunity. There might be grant opportunities to deliver that impact, because grant funding, often the key principle behind it, the reason that money is available is because the organisation giving the grant funding wants to deliver impact, needs, that's the main objective for the pot of money. What's the cost structure? What is the biggest cost in your business? What are the biggest operational costs? Would selling services or products reduce the need for donations? Donations are important and really nice to have, but potentially we could we could we could have an income stream from a retail that would really reduce the dependency on those donations. And then finally, the final section is customer relationships. How can you build financially sustainable support? What relationship does each customer segment expect you to establish and maintain? So how can you nurture those relationships and ensure that they extend beyond the initial 12 months? What other marketing channels might you need to do to find and nurture those audiences? And then I'm just going to go through the business model canvas again one more time, but using a CIC organization that's just a made up one as an example of the business model canvas. And for an organization such as Green Pathways, which is an organization that ChatGPT helped me to create, they help disadvantaged youth access nature-based mental health programs. So let's go through the business model canvas and see how that translates for Green Pathways. So their value proposition, they are an outdoor-based mental health support for young people, reducing anxiety and depression. Their customer segments primarily are disadvantaged youth, but the paying customers are the parents, the schools, the businesses, maybe they deliver corporate wellbeing workshops. The channels that they attract those customer segments are through their website, through social media, and through networking. The revenue streams that come in from those products and services, the schools pay for the nature-based therapy sessions. Maybe they've got a 12-month contract with that. And the corporate team building exercises and activities. And then they've also got online courses. Maybe that's a recurring income. Maybe they're delivered live, or maybe they're from an asset bank. Maybe they're delivered live first time, and then they're created into assets that can be sold time and time again. Maybe it's a membership. Key activities for this company, they're delivering outdoor mental health sessions, they're developing training materials, and they've got corporate wellbeing retreats as well. They have expert facilitators, they've got an outdoor space. How could they generate a revenue from that outdoor space? And they've also got training content. Could that be a digital asset potentially? Key partners. So who are the key partners that they need to consider? Schools, mental health charities, other VCSE partners, and maybe some businesses that are interested in employee wellbeing. What's the cost structure? Their biggest cost is going to be staff wages, insurance, site maintenance, and marketing costs. And their customer relationships, how they're going to establish and maintain schools, because they're going to be delivering annual programs. Businesses are going to have a workshop of, a program of workshops maybe, and they're going to get case studies and testimonials to really demonstrate the impact of those workshops. And then they're going to do individuals online courses. I'm just going to go back a couple of slides actually, just quickly, because I skipped through just this slide, which is a couple of other questions that I'd just like to pose is revenue streams. What can we sell or monetize? Key partnerships. Who could pay for your services? Corporate sponsors, businesses, schools, local councils. What key resources, what skills, assets, or knowledge can you leverage? And what's your value proposition? What unique value do you offer that people would pay for? Those are the key questions I think that we need to be asking ourselves when we're completing that business model canvas. and we will have a downloadable version that's available for you. If anyone would like the business model canvas, then you can just get in touch with us after this workshop, and I will hand over to Alison for the grant funding.
This is, yes, it mentions grant funding, but it's really like finance funding in the broader sense. So we will touch on the grant funding a bit, because although we're saying this is about entrepreneurship, the grant funding is relevant, and I'll explain why. So but first of all, overall pros and cons of grants. Well, they are, as Sarah said at the beginning, they are always going to be important and to be there and be worth being aware of and taking advantage of and taking them up. But one of the statements Sarah mentioned earlier was, when is a grant not a grant? And this is where I really would like to highlight this, because a lot of VCSC organisations, charities, are used to applying for funding for a grant, and there are, over the years, the terms of those have got stronger and stronger, and people want something for their money. You're not actually being given a gift, you are being paid to do something. And when you're applying for funding, you need to put together a business case, almost a proposal of what you want to do for that money. So although the rest of the funding fair has been a lot about grants, and I definitely recommend, if you're not already doing so, to look at the Aspire NN funding fair section for all the recordings for previous sessions, and look out and book onto future sessions as well, because there's such a range of different funding tips and funders that are giving some really great specialist advice to help you secure funding from their pots. But all of these, or almost all of these, really, they want something for their money. So really, you need to be approaching an application for a grant almost with your entrepreneurial business head on, and going about it with the same level of professionalism that an organization that was buying something from you would expect in terms of service. So what that means is, whether it's a grant or whether it's a contract that you're delivering on, it stands the same. You need to be delivering professional service, you need to be managing expectations, you need to be putting in strategies such as, what's your risk strategy, what if it goes wrong, what's your plan B, because those things are important for whether it's business or grants. And being able to deliver on what you're doing in the time that you say you will, to the people that you say you will enable you to be able to do some like really good reporting at the end. And as mentioned, a lot of grant funders, as any sort of buyer of services have in mind, they all want a certain impact, they want return on their investment, whether it's a social impact or a monetary impact. And for VCSCs, it's a social or environmental impact. So those need to be measured well right from the start. You need to have a really good plan in place of, how am I measuring the impact of what I'm doing? Am I recording the stats that matter, the change that is being created? And am I gathering evidence on the way, stories for storytelling, with for example, good photographs of what's going on, of happy faces, a range of shots. So you've got some at a distance place setting shots, you've got some close up facial expressions of the joy of taking part in your activity, you've got some good engagement between people, and some close-up shots to show some detail of something. So having a real good range of those, that evidence is not just good for promoting what you're doing as you're doing it, for popping it on Facebook and other social media, but it's also good for when you come to the reporting. So do consider grants in a way as a business contract, because then your quality and your service level will peak, really. So where to find grants and all sorts of funding. As mentioned, I really just sort of pass you back to the funding fair website, the Aspire NN website, to go have a look at the wide range of both local, national and some sector specific grants, such as for sports organisations or even village halls. So when we're looking at what funders want from us, yes, it's a social impact, but it's also the sustainability, the longevity and the long-termness of it. And that's the same whether it's a business contract or whether it's funding from a grant. How will this keep going beyond the funding term? And innovative ideas are often able to be tried out with people who've got a really good entrepreneurial brain. You can be innovative and you can move, and that's actually one of the beauties of social enterprises, is often they have real creative brains behind them, and you can try things out, try them on the small scale, and if it doesn't work, it's no big loss. You're not like a massive corporate who's launching a new brand for Pepsi Cola, and what happens if it tanks? Then you're in big trouble and it costs a lot of money. If you're a small organization, you can actually be innovative and try new things. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. If it works, you found something new. And if it doesn't, you just go on to the next thing. So the other thing that I think is really going to be useful to anyone, particularly anyone local, sort of watching this after or taking part now, is to know a little bit more about the resources and support that's available, whether that's generally through website links or specifically through what we're doing through the Northants Social Enterprise Network. So I'm going to be putting quite a few unashamed plugs in for Northants Social Enterprise Network and other partners that we work with when I give you the following tips and ideas of, where you can get free tools and help and support services. So starting with free tools and funding directories, there are funding organisations which offer support directories, online directories, where you can find grants that are suitable for the needs that you have. Yes, I know this is more about entrepreneurialism rather than grants, but some of those grants are actually to help you become more resilient and stronger as an enterprise. And with those, some of them are like, for example, Grant Finder. I know that Kettering Library every Thursday morning has free information service and support, one-to-one support from an organisation called the BIPC, who are based in the library. And if you go there, you can get help, access to Grant Finder. You have to actually be in the library with them. And if you need a grant for a specific thing, they can help you with that. There's also Funding Central, which is a tool which Sarah has access to, and any members of the Northants Social Enterprise Network over the last year have been able to book a free Friday morning session to get some advice from Sarah. Either I need what grants are available for this specific thing that I need, or this entrepreneurial idea that I want to develop. So it's understanding what's available, but also she can look over applications and help with that. And there are other funding directories available as well. And on Thursday, there's going to be an in-person session run by Groundwork Northants at the Business Exchange, which is going to be using Grant Finder, a one-to-one session, and information on that. So other support services, as mentioned, NNSE, Northants Social Enterprise Network in full. We do provide the free one-to-one funding advice sessions. As mentioned, it used to be just for members, but now it can help anyone in the VCSE sector who's based in Northamptonshire, as we've become part of the Aspire NN partnership, and we're part of delivering a service for that wider sector. So as well as that, NNSE does provide other information. Like we have a range of workshops. We had a session on starter kick. So if you're thinking about starting a community interest company, do look out for other sessions that are going to be coming up, because we're planning quite a lot, and they will be really useful. Out of 10 kicks that were represented at our workshop late last year, I believe 7 have become incorporated since then. So we consider that quite a good success rate. Now, online directories, they're important too, because there are certain buyers who will be looking and using those to find good suppliers of particular products or services, and increasingly now, since the Procurement Act came into being, which was end of February, so just last month, the public sector has a duty to be considering the full value when they are buying things. So that means they're not just looking at price, but they're looking at the social value and the environmental value of dealing with certain suppliers. This is a really good thing for small businesses and for social enterprises, because they've put into place a series of practical actions to make it easier for us as smaller organisations to be able to be selling to the public sector. And one of those things is there is now one central point where you put your organisation's details, things like your accreditations, your contact details, your how long you've been in business, your last year's accounts, all those sorts of things that in the past, every time you went to a council, you had to read to sell to them, you had to redo that. But now it goes into one central place where it's managed and secured, and you get a share code which can then be shared with any council or local authority or central government that you're selling to. So that makes the whole process a lot easier. And the online directory for them means that you can actually see contracts that are available all across the country, and you can filter them by sector, by what you're interested in selling. So as well as that, I really want to plug the Social Enterprise UK. They are the membership organisation for social enterprises across the UK, and they advocate for social enterprise. They have a campaign called Buy Social, which is encouraging corporates and enabling them to link with social enterprises and buy from them. They also run a campaign called eBay for Change. So if you're a social enterprise and you sell stuff that could be sold on eBay, it's a really good way to sell through their eBay for Change tool. And also Social Enterprise UK have their own directory of social enterprises and products and services that are provided. So lots of corporates, when they are wanting to buy from social enterprises, they'll go and look in these directories and they'll see, well, what's available, who does this, and where can I buy it from, and then they'll use that. So it's a really good way for social enterprises to be getting out there at a national level, and being seen, and having their products, in a free shop window that's been looked at by people with big pockets. So that's a really good thing. And I know that also Social Enterprise UK have just announced that they are there's an organisation called Local Supply Chain, which is another directory group, and they've got a new partnership together with Social Enterprise UK. So if you become a member of Social Enterprise UK and on their directory, you also automatically can become accredited at a certain level of membership for Local Supply Chain, which is another place that corporates will go and look for things. Obviously, if you're a social enterprise and you're delivering a service which is very local, these may not be quite what you're looking for at the moment, but these directories do have local filters on them. So if your customers are only local, and when you're doing your business planning, you may have thought of new sectors and new products, so actually could go a bit further than on your doorstep, then it's really worth thinking about getting listed in these directories. And I should also mention that the Social Enterprise UK membership is free for social enterprises if your turnover is under £100,000 a year. And I personally think it's quite good for even if you're larger than that, which we are. So I think the final thing I want to say in terms of directories is we have quite an interesting and exciting project going on with with NNSE, Northants Social Enterprises, and we are actually developing our own directory online, which is featuring all our social enterprise members who have either products to sell, services that they want to sell, or facilities that they want to hire out. And we did a bit of a prototype trial this afternoon, got a bit of feedback when we had our in-person version of this workshop, so we got some really good tips from that. So basically watch this space. If you are a social enterprise, that is, you have an asset lock, you have a social or environmental mission at your heart, and you currently have at least 50% of your income as earned, bearing in mind that if it's a grant, it might actually be earning if you're having to deliver something for it. Then if you fulfill those criteria and you're based in Northamptonshire, or the majority of your activity is in Northamptonshire, then do join Northants Social Enterprise Network, because you can be featured on the website, you can be featured in the new directory, and you will be kept up to date. But even if you don't fulfill those criteria, if you're an aspiring social enterprise, we love to you to connect with us. We have a newsletter, and lots of the resources are available for more than our members. And also, if you happen to be a corporate or linked to corporate, or you're a local authority, then signing up to the newsletter means that you're able to be better linked with your own social enterprise community. So that's it really from me. I don't know if there's any questions, or I think we'll go back to Sarah, shall we, for any questions, or Sean?
The one thing I did just think of then when you were talking, Alison, is the corporates. The corporates definitely need to check out the directory when it's available, yes, because it's going to really help our members, but also really help the corporates to find people.
Yes,
that is organizations.
Actually, I didn't say much about that, but it's in our plan. Is we are also linked in with another network called local network, which is called the Anchor Partnership, and it's the large organisations across the county, both Northants and West Northants. We've recently become connected in with them, and they will be having a volunteer day I think in June, and some sort of exhibition as part of Volunteer Week. And it was originally going to be all about volunteering and do corporate volunteering, but when I said actually we need to be encouraging the corporates to be buying social as well, then they're really interested in our directory, and it will be featuring that at that event and many other events. We, through our Aspire NN partnership, NNSE have a big to-do list, which includes lots of meet the buyer events, engaging with the procurement team at NNC. For another thing is we'll be delivering, creating a new startup directory for social enterprises, how to be a social enterprise, and lots of really practical things. And then we're always listening to our members and the people who come along, people who send inquiries to, well, what else do you want? We want something, we want a workshop on search engine optimization, came up today. We want a workshop on how to be confident when you've sent a press release out and the radio want to interview you. The little things like that you don't really think of, but they're all part of the jigsaw that help make up a successful business if you've got those skills. So there's many things going on. So please sign up for our newsletter, or if you're a social enterprise and you're not already joined, do join.